Good morning, everyone. It is January 23rd, regular council meeting. All public meetings are live streamed and recorded. Any written or verbal information provided may be included in public documents as per the Freedom of Information Act and, sorry, I added that went too fast. Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, FOIP 40-1. I will call the meeting to order at 9 a.m. We have an agenda before us. Any additions? Councillor Cermak.
Yes, I would like to add in closed session.
Okay.
A piece on land.
On land? Okay, so we'll add that as 12.1.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looking at, I'm just looking here. So there is a question. I will say that I should have said this at the beginning, and that is that Councillor Melhoff and Councillor Lougheed are joining us virtually. So if I seem to be stalling here, I'm just not sure of your question, Councillor Lougheed, in regards to, do you have your mic on, Councillor Lougheed?
Sorry, Reeve, it's Jenny or Councillor Malhoff. How will we participate in the closed session?
I will look to Alana on this one, or COMs. I think the Teams meeting will continue.
Okay, can I respectfully request that it get moved up into before reports so that we can still go and for the afternoon session for the conference?
Okay, so I will, there's a few processes here that we need to do, so we need a motion to amend first.
Okay.
So would you make that motion?
I will make that motion to amend.
Okay, so with the council first, motion to amend is the initial motion on the floor. So we'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, that is carried. Motion to include the new item, which is emergent, and then we will get to where it lands on the agenda in a minute, Councillor Melhoff. So we have a motion to include a new item, emergent item, made by Councillor Cermak again. I'll call the question. All those in favor? It's carried.
Sorry, Reeve. Okay.
Yep, go ahead. And now, go ahead, Councillor Melhoff.
Thank you. How are we justifying it being emergent? We're voting on it being emergent, but we have no justification for it being emergent.
Sorry. I'm going to put COMs on, please.
I'd respectfully suggest time sensitive.
Yeah, time sensitive. So this has been discussed with myself and the CAO, so I agree with this particular emergent motion item, so that's why I consent to this, and I feel that you as councillors will feel the same way once we get to a closed session. So I will, in that regards, I think we just need one more motion, and that is to motion to adopt the added item under which could we move up closed session then to between right after new business, just before reports? Respectfully, could we move that item up? Okay. So we will move that item up to a closed session to just before reports. All right. So motion to adopt the agenda as amended. We'll move it up.
I'll make that.
Okay, Councillor Northcott will make that motion. All those in favor? Thank you. Okay. All right, moving on into the agenda. We have a public, we have to adopt the minutes of the last meeting on January 9th. Any errors or omission in those meetings? Motion to accept the meetings. Councillor Cermak, thank you. All those in favor? Carried. All right, now we move on to our public hearing. I will call the public hearing to order at 9:05. Now I'll outline the process. Everyone present shall register. All persons wishing to speak shall be recognized by the chair. Every presenter, when told it is their turn, shall identify themselves and their organization, if any, and whether they are in favor or opposed to the bylaw. If a presenter becomes repetitive, they may be limited by the chair. If a presenter or member of the audience becomes disrespectful, they may be asked to leave by the chair. No outside recording devices will be permitted. We ask that cell phones be turned off or put on silent mode. Breaks within the hearing will be called at the chairman's discretion. Firstly, the development officer will explain the background of the application, then the applicant will be invited to outline the reasons for their application. At any time, council members have the opportunity to ask questions. Any submissions received from other agencies will be then read out loud, and then anyone who is present whom is in favor of the application will be asked to submit his or her presentation. Following this, comments will be requested from anyone who is opposed to the application. The applicant will have the last word and thus respond to any issues raised previously. So before I turn it over to staff for the background report, let's do a quick round of introductions if we could, and I'll start with my right.
Good morning, I'm Sydney Graham, Councillor for Division 2.
Michelle Swanson, we're missing two. Michelle Swanson, Reeve, and Councillor for Division 7.
Good morning, Jordan Northcott, Division 4, Councillor.
Good morning and welcome. Neil Radcliffe, Division 5.
Good morning. Brian Cermak, Division 6 Councillor.
Good morning, Murray Hagan, Director of Corporate Services.
Good morning, Rick Emmons, CEO.
Good morning, Holly Bealey, Development Officer.
Good morning, Albert van der Meer, applicant.
Good morning, Sjoukje van der Meer, applicant.
Thank you. And we'll go to our teams online.
Good morning, Jenny Malhoff, Deputy Reeve, and Division 1 Councillor.
Good morning, everyone. Daryl Wahid, Councillor, Division 3.
Thank you so much. So with that, to start off, Holly Bealey, our Senior Development Officer, will outline the background of the application, please.
Thank you. So with me today, I have the Vandermeers. They currently hold title to the Northwest 26, 40 of 7, and it contains 156.85 acres. The land is located north of Rocky Mountain House, southeast of the Frisco Hall, approximately half a mile north of Highway 12. The application before you today is to redesignate 4.48 acres from the Agricultural District to the Country Residential Agricultural District. The proposed The proposed 4.48 acres CRA parcel is fairly flat open land containing an existing yard site, complete with a residence and garage. There is existing services on site, including a well and septic system, which is a pump out and is to be replaced with a septic field. The proposal is located southwest portion of the quarter section, abutting an existing residential parcel. There is existing access off Range Road 72, adjacent to the west property boundary. The municipal road comes to a dead end at the south boundary of this quarter section. The remaining 152.37 acres of the quarter will remain under its present designation, being the agricultural district. This land is a mix of flat hay and pasture land and lower wetland. There is an established farm site in the southeast portion of the quarter, and access exists off Range Road 72. The applicants have indicated they still have a Natural Resource Conservation Board approval in place for their hog operation. However, at this time, all animals on site are for their own personal use and enjoyment. The reason for the second residential parcel request, or the third title, is to allow opportunity for the applicants to reside on their land with no restrictions to their son who's taking over the farm. Surrounding land uses in the area are predominantly agricultural with some residential parcels. Pending the outcome of this application, the applicants intend to proceed with a subdivision application to create separate title to the proposed CRA parcel. Therefore, this land use amendment application is in conjunction with subdivision 3678. I've included various provisions from the municipal development plan for council's consideration, and I know you guys are all fairly familiar with them, so I'm just going to do a quick recap over them, but if you have questions, please let me know. So I've included section 5 of the municipal development plan. It's in regards to more creating the separate title for the residential parcel, but it addresses the quality of the agricultural land and limits infringements on existing agricultural operations. Section 6 addresses the residential development considerations when you're creating a parcel, such as the land capability and site suitability and access, and it also addresses mitigation measures for natural and energy resources as well as the surrounding lands. Section 10 addresses the number of titles possible per quarter section, their location, the size and access, and the potential impacts of the proposal. Section 11 addresses servicing on site and that it must comply with provincial regulations. And section 14 addresses municipal reserves and when and how they are to be acquired. From Clearwater County's land use bylaw, I included the CRA district, which kind of outlines the residential intent for the proposal. And I've also included from the Municipal Government Act, again, this pertains to the subdivision component, but as this is a combined application and it outlines what must be considered by the subdivision authority. So based off policy, the proposed 4.48 acres second parcel, or your third title from the quarter, fully complies with the municipal development plan and land use bylaw. It is situated to limit infringements on surrounding ag operations, being in the corner of the quarter section, adjacent to an existing residential parcel. The size fully complies with the CRA requirements, where existing structures can meet the setback requirements outlined. The services on site will be replaced to comply with safety codes in relation to the new boundaries that they are creating. Legal and physical access to both the proposal and the balance of the quarter section exist and comply with municipal standards. At the regular council meeting held on December 12th, council gave first reading to this bylaw with directions to proceed to today's public hearing. And the public hearing was advertised in local newspapers on the county website and was circulated for comments from adjacent landowners and agencies. So staff's recommendation, upon consideration of the representation that's made today at the public hearing, are requesting that council grant second and third reading to the bylaw to amend this bylaw.
Thank you so much. I'll now ask council if they have any questions of the development officer. Councillor Ratcliffe.
Thank you, Rick Johnson. When was the first parcel taken out of this quarter?
That is an excellent question. You guys know when that was?
I think the last time somebody looked it up when we were here was late 70s, early 80s, somewhere there.
Okay. So 40 plus years ago.
Lots of years ago, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Cermak.
Yes, my concern is with the septic system. You have a pump out now and they say that they're going to replace it with a septic field. Does that have to be done before we can approve that so that it's within the limits of what this small area will give? Or does that matter?
Essentially with the land use amendment, you're just gonna redesignate the land and then the replacement of the septic system can be addressed at the subdivision stage as a condition of subdivision.
Oh, okay. So that is important to have that changed because of the smaller area that it's going to be in?
It is, but the applicants have proposed to replace it with a field.
Good. Yeah, I'm always worried about the wastewater on a smaller parcel, that it's being taken care of properly. Thank you.
Thank you. No further questions from council? All right, so I'll now invite the development officer to present any comments received from referral agencies.
Yes, so we did We circulated referrals and we received 8 comments from agencies. Alberta Health Services indicated they have no objections and provided their standard comments, just outlining the separation distance that's required between their well and septic system in accordance with the Public Health Act. Alberta Transportation indicated their primary concern is protecting the highway operations and that the municipality will comply with their highway plan to mitigate impacts on the highway. There is no direct highway access. The proposal is utilizing local roads. So Alberta Transportation grants approval to vary the requirements of Section 18 and offers no objection to the proposal. Blue Mountain Power Co-op indicated they have no objections and outlined that they are a member-owned nonprofit distribution wire service provider. Ag Services from Clearwater County had no additional comments to provide. Public Works Infrastructure had no objections, and they indicated that at the subdivision stage, they would be requesting road widening caveat be listed on the property. Fortis Alberta had no concerns. Rocky Gas Co-op asked that we note to the applicant if on the decision stating that any information on installation of natural gas services, they can contact Rocky Gas Co-op. And finally, the Municipal Planning Commission had toured and reviewed the application on December 20th. MPC discussed and received clarification on the proposed size and existing services and the agricultural practices on the balance of the quarter. And MPC recommended that Council favorably consider granting second and third reading as the proposal complies with policy for the third title. The services are being replaced to comply with the size requirements outlined in policy, and the proposal provides for generational farming to continue. That was all the comments I received.
Thank you. I will now invite the applicants if they'd like to speak to the proposal and add any additional comments in support of your request or to respond to any of the agency comments.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
Is there anything you'd like to add?
No.
No, nothing to add.
Thank you. I'd now like to invite any member of the public wishing to speak in favor of the application. Before moving on, I will check with the development officer regarding any written submissions in favor of the request.
None were received.
Thank you. I would now invite any member of the public wishing to speak in opposition of the application. Seeing none, I'll now ask the development officer if there's any written submissions opposing the request.
Again, none were received.
Thank you. Before I close the hearing, I would like to finally ask again if the applicant would like to present any final remarks. Would you like to offer any extra information or any final remarks before we close the hearing?
No, I think what the plan went through, that's what we're looking for, so. No.
Okay, thank you so much. So with that, I'll close the hearing at 9:18. No motions will be entertained at this moment. Now moving on in the agenda, item 5.1, consideration of second and third reading of this bylaw 1175/23. I'll turn it back over to Ms. Billy.
So the proposed bylaw number 117523 is to amend Clearwater County's land use bylaw to redesignate the recently described 4.48 proposal within the Northwest 2640 of 7 from the Ag District to the CRA District. As previously stated, the applicants have indicated their reasonings for the land use amendment is to provide opportunity for them to stay on the land and their son to continue farming. Pending the outcome of the land use amendment, it is the applicant's intent to proceed with their subdivision application and create separate title to the proposal. Staff are recommending that council consider granting second and third reading to the bylaw, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. All right, I'm looking for council's comments or motions to this particular bylaw. Councilor Ratcliffe.
Thank you, Reeve. I just have another question. Once the title for this land is transferred, the new owner would be able to also build a residence on that remaining part of the property?
On the proposal, there is a residence there already, so that would be the only residence permitted. Because it's one unless there was like a special provision for a bona fide need. And then on the balance of the quarter, there is a residence already, and they could potentially have a second residence out there, but that is not their intent at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Graham.
I would like to make a motion that council grant second reading to bylaw 1175/23 for the purpose of amending the land use bylaw to redesignate 4.48 acres within the land location listed there from ag district to country residential ag district.
Thank you. Motion on the floor for second reading. Councillor Northcott.
Thank you. Question for administration. I know a lot of times reasoning that comes to for creation of additional subdivision of land comes for the reasoning of to continue generational farming for family. When I look across the landscape of Clearwater County, I'm just curious if the administration has any information regarding the current acreages that are in place. Because often, a lot of times I see the current acreage is in place. I see often there's no family member living, in the existing acreage off of a quarter. And those residents don't have any, there's no involvement with the current agricultural activities on the surrounding land. Often they're not family members at all that have purchased the parcel or the first parcel off of a quarter. So I know that reason is always, I see it over and over and over. It's used for generational farming, but often I don't know if that's really reality when I look across the landscape of the county. Does administration have any facts or any information to support that?
In this case, that's what the applicants have said they're doing. Mom and dad are gonna live on the acreage, and the son and daughter-in-law are living on the balance. They do still have their NRCB approval in place, so what the future holds for them, I'm not sure. They might be able to speak more to it. But the proposed acreage was created, like the applicants had outlined years ago. I do not believe that's attached to this family, but this proposal does fully comply with our municipal development plan.
Yeah, no, just besides this application, I've heard it in the past often. Just curious if there was any factual information regarding, that statement to support it, that there's, to carry on with generational farming and agricultural activities throughout the rest of the landscape of Clearwater County. I just wanted to see if there's any information besides this application.
They are here. Their son is here as well, if you'd like them to speak. But
No, it's not this application. I've heard it in previous applications in the past that reason is often used, but to support that reasoning, I hear it over and over and over, but I just wanted to see if administration had any factual information saying that yes, this family member lives on this acreage and continues to support agriculture, because that's not what I see really often across the landscape of the county. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
In regards to that though, Councillor Northcott, farming is subjective. So whether it be cattle farming, hay farming, greenhouse, horses, there's chickens, there's multiple uses for farming, and I see this as an opportunity, and I also see across this county that it's an opportunity for the parents to age in place and a way for their family to be able to look after them and not have to worry about their parents. So we all know that as we age, having my father-in-law was able to still partake in the farming activities, which help for their mental health, etc. So to me, it still stems down to the fact of quality of life, and that's what farming families are about. They're about multi-generational family and being a part of the family. So I understand there's maybe a lack of data, but at the same time, that's how our residents use their property. We want to make sure that they're legal, but they have that opportunity to do what they want when they get to that retirement age. So they've worked hard for that. So we have a second reading on the floor. Any more comments to second reading? I'll call the question. All those in favor of second reading? Those opposed? Motion's carried. All right, looking for a third reading motion. Councillor Ratcliffe?
I would make that motion that council grant third reading to bylaw 1175/23 to amend the land use bylaw.
Thank you. Any comments or questions in regards to third reading? Councillor Northcott?
Yeah, just another comment. I know that the administration commented that it fully complies. This application does fully comply with the 2023 Municipal Development Plan. But when I look back over the surveys and everything that were completed, the open houses, the public hearing, 78% of the residents that had completed the survey did support section 10.2.1, which indicated two titles per quarter. But there wasn't a lot of favor for section policy 10.2.2. So for that reason, I won't be supporting this.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Well, I will say to Councillor Northcott that there was a large portion of our population that did not even reply to the survey. So with that, I would say that we are speaking on behalf of them as well that did not participate on that. So yes, of the ones that maybe answered those surveys or answered those or came to the public hearing to voice their opposition, we did also make the motion to, for every resident that would like to take that opportunity, they're following the process, and that is coming before council. So we are giving every resident the opportunity to have that opportunity to do a third parcel. Councillor Northcott.
Thank you. No, I'm just going on the information, the actual facts that were presented by the residents that did come forward. You know, there was roughly 400 residents that signed a petition, you know, against the 2023 MDP, but there was no petition in favor of it. There were surveys. There was so there was a significant amount of numbers there. So I'll just leave it at that.
All right. We could go back and forth. I'm not going to do this today, so no worries. Squirrel. All right. Looking at third reading, call the question. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. And thank you very much for coming in today. I appreciate that. You bet. So moving on in the agenda to item 5.2, consideration of readings for the borrowing bylaw. Turn it over to Mr. Hagan.
Thank you, Reeve. Good morning, Council. What you have before you is consideration of a new borrowing bylaw. This is an annual process as required by our main banker, Alberta Treasury branches. In order to enable effective cash management, prudent investment practices, the county holds procurement cards to streamline purchases of low dollar value items and has arranged an operating line of credit through Alberta Treasury branches, or ATB, that can be accessed during the year to accommodate any temporary cash deficiencies. Such deficiencies could occur due to the timing of significant expenditures preceding the collection of the annual property taxes. For example, considerable construction, maintenance activity commence in May, while the collection of the majority of tax revenue does not occur until mid-September. The resulting outflow of cash may exceed what is currently available through bank accounts and short-term investments. Depending on relevant interest rates, it may be advantageous to the county to borrow on a short-term basis rather than redeem longer-term investments. These types of borrowings must be authorized by council through bylaw. The administration recommends that the maximum amount available for borrowing be $5 million, which is consistent with previous such bylaws. This amount would be allocated as follows: procurement cards held through the Bank of Montreal, $200,000, and a line of credit held through Alberta Treasury branch of $4.8 million. Based on the audited 2022 financial statements, the county's debt limit is approximately $86.2 million. The outstanding balance of the Westview Lodge debenture as at December 31st, 2022 was just over $1 million. This is the only debt currently carried by Clearwater County. Procurement card balances are paid monthly to avoid interest charges. Interest on the line of credit would be at the ATB prime rate plus 1% per annum. ATB prime rate is currently 7.2%. as the terms of these loans will be less than 3 years, and any borrowings will be used to satisfy operating expenditures. Advertisement of the bylaw is not required. ATB has revised its documentation standards requiring municipal borrowing bylaws for such purposes be passed on an annual basis. The related bylaw for 2023 was number 1138/23, which should be rescinded. There's also an outstanding borrowing bylaw from 2019, which was number 1058/19, which should also be rescinded. So essentially, the bylaw before you today is consistent with last year's bylaw with 2 exceptions. It follows the new template that administration has developed for council's use, and I've simply reallocated slightly between the line of credit and the procurement cards, decreasing the line of credit request from $4,850,000 down to $4,800,000 for even numbers, and increased the potential line of borrowing available on the procurement cards or corporate credit cards to $200,000, which allows administration some greater flexibility in managing those cards as our spending needs change. So our recommendation to council is that council considers granting first, second readings, permission for third reading, and third reading of bylaw 1181/24 for the purpose of allowing the borrowing of sums council considers necessary to meet current operating expenditures and obligations of the municipality in a fiscally prudent manner.
Thank you so much. Quick question in that regard. You had mentioned in the background that certain bylaws will need to be rescinded. Would that be after the acceptance of this bylaw?
Excellent question. We've incorporated those into the bylaw itself. There is a section of the bylaw that deals with both of those former bylaws. And by passing this bylaw, effectively council rescinds those 2 previous bylaws.
Okay. I see there's a hand up on Teams, so Councillor Lougheed, I believe, or Councillor Melhoff? Okay.
Me, thank you. If we a few weeks ago went over in depth the finance capacity within the county. If we have all of those funds, why do we need to have an operating line of credit when we have such a depth already?
Go ahead, Mr. Hagan.
Thank you. That's an excellent question as well, Deputy Reeve. We do have ample funds available, but what administration has put in place is a tiered investment strategy where the money most immediately needed is in shorter term investments, which by their nature earn less interest, and try to defer as much as we can into the future for longer term investments, which we have notice periods on those, so they're not readily accessible. And yes, we could cash in those longer term investments, but essentially we'd be giving up some interest. It might be more advantageous to us to borrow on a short-term basis and maintain those higher interest rates overall. So if we were to end up in that situation, certainly finance and myself would go through basically a cost-benefit analysis to make sure that borrowing was the logical thing to do as opposed to cashing in some investments. And just for council's information, we did not have to access a line of credit in the last year. We were able to manage our investments appropriately with no significant surprises coming along.
Thank you. Any further?
Thank you. Can I have supplementary, please?
Yes.
Thank you, Reeve. Mr. Hagan, you said you changed around the cards a little bit. I'm curious how we use those. Obviously, we're monitoring them. I know we have a large staff, but 200,000 is a scary number on a credit card for me. So I just would love you to go into a little bit more detail on that.
Absolutely. I wish my personal credit card had a limit of 200,000.
Right?
This is more than one card. This is probably 10 to 15 cards assigned to specific individuals in the organization. And there are controls around the cards themselves in terms of what vendors the cards can be used at, what types of purchases can be made on the cards. So they actually give us an increased line or extent of security at the point of purchase. There is a review and approval process in place as there is for all of our purchases. So what this means is that we can expedite small dollar value purchases more conveniently, things like hotels, that sort of thing. It enables the relevant staff members who hold the cards to be able to book those rooms on a corporate card as opposed to having to use their own card and then be reimbursed through payable system. It cuts down on the time and increases our efficiency in terms of processing electronic funds transfers and check payments as well. So it basically brings to us efficiency without sacrificing internal control.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ratcliffe.
Thank you, Reeve. I understand that the purpose of this bylaw, which I believe we've never used, is to balance out our spending and our revenue. Unless I missed it, why wouldn't we have a requirement to pay this off at the end of the year so that it not carry beyond the end of our fiscal year?
Essentially, our intention would be to pay this off on a short-term basis. Again, waiting for some of our short-term investments to come due and using those funds to pay down this line of credit. As I mentioned, we did not access the line of credit last year. We don't intend to access this line of credit, but should circumstances warrant that it would make more economic sense to access this rather than cash in investments, we would look at doing that. So it's really just putting this this vehicle in place that we would be able to access on a short-term basis with the intention of paying it off. So it's very unlikely that it would necessarily carry over year end, given that the majority of our property taxes are received in September, October. We would have ample cash to pay this off, so I wouldn't expect that to carry forward. And again, this is simply putting a borrowing vehicle in place. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to use it.
Supplement?
Yeah. Would it handicap us to have that in this bylaw, that those loans would be paid off at the end of each year so that there is no carry forward to the next year or even to a subsequent council?
I would suggest that's unnecessary, but again, that's council's purview if they would like to have such a provision in there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Ryan?
I'd just like to add to Director Hagan's response there. The credit cards are used more like a purchasing card instead of what you would think of as a borrowing funds. It's more like for vendors that we don't have agreements in place to purchase on credit. So on the financial statements, you'll always see monies owed to vendors because purchases and operations happen right up to December 31st. So if the guys in the shop need something on December 28th, they go and pick it up. And if it's for someone, if they purchase it at an organization that we have an agreement with to charge that, they would do it that way. But if it's an organization that we don't have an agreement with, then they use their purchasing card. So then at the end of the year, there likely is outstanding on the credit card, but we don't pay interest on that because we pay it off before the terms so that we don't pay the interest, but it's more of a convenience so that we don't have to set up accounts at every vendor that we don't use on a regular basis.
Okay. Follow up for that, Councillor Ratcliffe?
Thank you. I'm sorry, I should have been more clear. I was referring to the line of credit, which could be, significantly more substantial than, the year-end wrap-up for the credit card purchases.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes, and we Director Hagan said, very rarely have we used, in my time, we've used the line of credit once. So that's 15 years we've used the line of credit once. And it was only because we had investments locked in, and it was only for a few weeks until that investment matured and we were able to pay off that use of the line of credit. So it's more as a fail-safe so that if the investment is locked in and we do have a check that needs to go through, that it doesn't get returned, because we know that, things happen, that maybe one of the contracts come through payables for a large project in Public Works, and it could be $3 million. And maybe the investment just is 10 days away from being matured. We're not going to forfeit the interest on that investment for 10 days of using the line of credit, but it's never the intention to have it roll for weeks on end even. It's just that fail-safe, so that if we do have a check coming through payables that's large, that we don't have the investment coming forward, then maturing at that time, that we just have that fail-safe. That's all it's for.
Thank you. Councillor Cermak was next.
Yeah, I'm more wondering about this prime rate. I understand that we've only used our line of credit once in 15 years, so that prime rate doesn't come into effect, but do we negotiate that? Or do they just tell us what they're gonna charge us and we can't negotiate it?
Director Hagan.
Thank you. Essentially, we have negotiated that rate with ATB. There hasn't been a great deal of wiggle room on that negotiation. That is what they're offering. I don't think it's out of the realm of reasonability. Essentially, if we wanted a lower rate, we'd probably have to look to another bank to get that on. And given that we don't think there's a strong likelihood of us even needing to access this, and considering that if we did access it, it would be over a very short time frame, I don't think finding a lower rate would make all that significant of a difference to us.
Okay, thanks. I was just wondering if it was negotiated, because it just looked 7.2 just seems a little high to me, but maybe it's not the world financing right now.
Given, also consider that prime rates are up over the last 2 years.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Melhoff or Lougheed? I'm going to do the joint thing. Go ahead.
Thank you, Eve. Ms. Serhan, you mentioned that we would see some things reflected in the accounts payable. Unless I'm mistaken, that has not ever come to this council. I know it was in previous council agendas with previous councils, but I have not seen it in ours unless I have missed that.
Ms. Serhan?
It's reflected in that accounts payable number on the statement of financial position at year end. So there's always a line that's saying liabilities for accounts payable. And I was just referencing that because Councillor Radcliffe was saying over year end, he wouldn't want that held over in year end. And in fact, there usually is a small payable amount to the procurement card vendor because of the purchases that are made like right at the end of December, but it's not purchases that we're paying interest on.
Right. Thank you for the clarification, because I just know that we haven't gotten those monthly ones ever like the last council did. So I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. Thank you.
Councillor Northcott.
No, I was just going to make a motion to grant first reading to borrowing bylaw 1181-24.
Thank you. Motion on the floor for first reading. Any other discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor? First reading. Carried. Thank you. Now looking for a motion for second. Councillor Graham?
I will make the motion for second.
Thank you very much. Motion on the floor for second reading. All those in favor? Carried. Permission for third. Councillor Cermak.
I would like to grant permission for third reading
Thank
of
you.
bylaw 1181-24.
Thank you very much. Permission for third motion. Call the question. All those in favor? And carried. Now motion for third reading. Anybody like to make that? Councillor Northcott.
I'll make a motion for third reading of bylaw 1181-24.
Thank you. No further discussion. I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much for that. So seeing that there's no delegation presentation today or old business, we'll carry on into new business at 8.1 on the road closure application portion of Road Plan 6241BM. And I believe that is Mr. Bisson. Welcome.
Good morning, Council. All right, I have Lori Allen with me. She is one of the landowners that's dealing with this property file. So I'd be happy to present the item to you.
Thank you.
So an application to close portion of Road Plan 6241 BM, an undeveloped road plan running through the Allen property, being the Northwest 40 of 9, has been received. The subject land is located approximately 12 miles west of the town of Rocky Mountain House. The applicant, Josh Allen, is in the process of estate planning, and the applicants were unaware that the road plan exists, and they have constructed permanent structures on the property within the road plan. As part of the estate planning process, the applicants and the landowner would like to make sure everything on the property is in compliance with county regulations. Should this be approved, approximately 4.3 acres of road plan would be consolidated with the remainder of the Northwest 40 of 9 west of the 5th. The road plan is not developed, and unfortunately there is a lack of historic information on the road, but it is believed to be part of the original trail between Rocky and Nordig. In addition to the applicant's request, please see their attached letter. Clearwater County Public Works Department has no objection in the consideration of closing Road Plan 6241 BM. In order to close the road plan, in order to close this portion of road, a resolution process is followed. The application is referred to applicable government agencies, utility companies, and to adjacent landowners. The application is then presented to County Council for a decision. There is no requirement for a public hearing to consent from adjacent landowners due to the location of adjacent road allowances. If the resolution is passed, the application is sent to the Alberta Transportation and Economic Corridors for ministerial approval. Alberta Transportation will prepare the documentation and notification to register necessary to transfer the road to the appropriate owner. So it's recommended that council approves closure of a portion of Road Plan 6241 running through the Northwest 40 of 9 west of the 5th in accordance with Section 22 of the Municipal Government Act as amended. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions, discussion from council? Councillor Ratcliffe.
There we go. Thank you, Reeve. There's only one title on this property then? It's not divided by the road?
That
Okay.
is correct.
By looking at the aerial image and the tree growth, this hasn't been used for decades?
That is correct.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Melhoff.
Thank you, Reeve. It says we were talking about the Rocky Mountain House to Nordig, the original trail between that. Is there going to be any need for this for the future alignment of the Rocky to Nordig trail that we are working on, otherwise known as the rail trail?
So as far as the rail trail is concerned, the actual railway runs adjacent to Township, the Township Road at the very north end of this property. So that is the location of the rail trail. According to Public Works, there would be no need for this to be part of that rail trail. And there's no objection to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion, recommendation, or discussion? I'm looking for a motion. Councillor Ratcliffe.
I would like to make that motion. Thank you, Reeve. That council approves the closure of the indicated portion of Road Plan 6241 BM running through the indicated property.
So there's that full motion, the whereas and now therefore, so anyways, it's the whole meal deal, I guess.
Okay.
Next page.
So in accordance with Section 22 of the MGA, Chapter M26, and that therefore it resolved that here Clearwater County Council hereby closes the following described road, subject to the rights of access granted by other legislation. That is Road Plan 6241 BM, a portion of road lying within part northwest 04-40-09 west of the 5th, title number 052315328 as shown in the attached map.
Thank you for that full motion. We'll take a break. No, just kidding. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you so much. So moving on to the Office of the CEO, 8.2, B, we have a request for Central Alberta Economic Partnership, CAEP, advocacy support for the Township Road 42-5A base pave project. And I'll turn over to Ms. Hay.
Good morning, Council. Attached to this agenda item report is a draft letter to the Central Alberta Economic Partnership Board requesting their support in advocating the federal government for funding to complete the shovel-ready project of base paving the Township Road 42-5A that runs through the community of the Ochis First Nation. And with this letter, it just is asking CAEP to join council in advocating for funding from the federal government to complete the project from an economic and regional growth perspective.
So with the letter that's before us, looking for any discussion in that regard. Councillor Grant?
I was just gonna go ahead and make the motion if council is okay with that. It seems logical. It would be nice if we could get this road built before prices go up again. So it's been great that the provincial government is supporting it and has allocated money for it, and it would be awesome if the federal government could as well. So I will make a motion that council asks Central Alberta Economic Partnership Board of Directors support in lobbying the Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities for partnership funding to grade, base, and pave the Ochis First Nations Primary Access Road, Township Road 42-5A.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? No, I believe we need to keep pedal to the metal in this regards as far as lobbying. And we realize that it's an important road within our road network and it needs to be upgraded. So if there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you so much on that one. Now moving on to the request for joint advocacy effort for the Ochis First Nation in support of Township Road. Go ahead again, Ms. Sate.
Thank you. Also, in the same vein is a draft letter attached to item 8.2C. And it is, this draft letter is joint with the Ochis First Nation, and again, just advocating the federal government for funding. The federal government did respond to Clearwater County Council's first letter. The response was non-committal, and so with suggestions from Tammy Burke, the Ochis First Nation consultant for this project, this second letter was drafted with highlighting some of the issues regarding that road, and hopefully the federal government will I guess, consider a partnership funding, hopefully.
Any discussion, comments, or motions on the item? Councillor Ratcliffe.
I would make the motion that we ask administration to proceed with engaging with the Ochese First Nation to jointly support this letter to the Federal Minister Sean Fraser, Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities, requesting federal funding support in partnership with Clearwater County and the province of Alberta for the Township Road 42-5A base pave project. This is important and we need to get moving on this again before the prices go up once more.
Councillor Malhoff.
Thank you, Reeve. I was just curious if there was other ministries that we should be advocating to, and not just this particular ministry. Do we have others on the list that we should be reaching out to as well?
CEO Emmons.
Thank you, Reeve Swanson. Clearwater County has written several of these letters to numerous ministries. Deputy Malhoff, this one was mainly focused at the federal level, looking for that third missing partner.
Sorry, supplementary?
Yes.
Thank you, Reeve. Absolutely. I'm just curious if we should be reaching out to IA, et cetera, and not just infrastructure and community building. Like perhaps there's other groups we can be working with within the federal government as well. There's
Ms. Haight.
other options too.
As noted in the draft letter, the Ministry of Employment, Workforce Development and Official Languages have been CC'd, as well as the Minister of Public Safety, Democratic Institutions and Intergovernmental Affairs. They will also be receiving a copy of this letter. And those are federal ministries.
Absolutely. In particular, I was referencing Indian Affairs. Because if we're concerned about the safety on the nation, perhaps they should also be assisting with that. A lot of the points noted by Ms. Burke were safety on the nation. Should that not be something that particular arm of government should be aware of?
Ms. Haight.
Certainly administration will look into that.
Thank you.
So with that, we have a motion on the floor. Looking for any more discussion or clarification on the motion that's before us? All right, I'll call the question. Oh, sorry, Councillor Cermak.
I do like that the Indian Affairs should be involved in this too, at the federal level. Okay. I think that's a necessity. I really do. I think they have a fair bit of clout in the federal jurisdiction, so I'd really like to see their name on there. Okay. Thank you.
So the suggestion is to, and it's come forth with both Councillor Malhoff and Councillor Councillor Cermak to add the additional Department of Indigenous Affairs or Indian Affairs. There's a hand up. Councillor Lougheed or Councillor Malhoff? Councillor Lougheed.
This time it's me. I don't think it would hurt to include the Office of the Prime Minister in this. It's going to make it just that much more awareness within that realm of Ottawa, and I think that's going to look positive. Better response if the more people you include in the discussion.
Okay, so just Ms. Haight.
And just to confirm, there is no longer Ministry of Indian Affairs. There'll be a copied letter to the Ministry of Crown Indigenous Relations.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification.
The official department ministry name.
Okay. Thank you. So also the suggestion of the Office of the Prime Minister as well. Councillor Ratcliffe.
Thank you, Eve. It's my understanding that this section of road, 42-5A, is actually a county road, but that we basically have no residents living there. And we would never on our own attempt to pave this road. And that's why we are seeking these partnerships. That's correct, isn't it? Okay, thank you.
CEO Emmons, additional?
Thank you, Johnson. So absolutely, this road is solely services industry traffic and goes to a neighboring community, which is why the government has funding in place for resource funding and other partnerships, and this road well falls within that framework.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Northcott?
Question for administration, I suppose. If this project was to move forward and it was to be paved, whose responsibility in the future, like in 15 or how many ever years into the future, who would be responsible and who would pay for repaving?
That would fall in Clearwater County. It is a county road, so the partnership is the initial infrastructure, the maintenance and the overlays, which an overlay falls into, would be on Clearwater County.
Okay, at current day's price to if we had to do a repave of 52 kilometers, what would today's current price be roughly to today if Clearwater County was going to repave 52 kilometers?
So the Ochese Road is 17 kilometers.
Okay. 17, sorry.
So at today's price, the overlay, my quick estimate would be right around that 12, 13 million.
Maybe Director Hansen can offer some more perspective. Go ahead, Director Hansen.
Yes, good morning, everyone. CAO Emmons is absolutely correct. It's 17 kilometers of the county portion of the Ochese Road. Current price is between $200,000 and $250,000 a kilometer for overlay. So, it's a significant investment there as it adds to our surface road inventory. There's additional operational costs. You know, we've identified that with the addition of that road will likely include another plow truck that comes with 2 operators. There is a long-term operating expense that comes with the expanding our surface road network for sure.
Thank you very much.
Just a quick question on that, but we do have a dedicated grader for that road, or like a smaller grader source already for that particular road? Is that not correct?
Yeah, so operations have adjusted some of their grader beat to include our West Country grader to focus primarily on the Ochese Road, as well as the small portion of the Buster Creek Road up into the Annie Miller country. And there's a few no exits that go off the Buster Creek Road, so his that maintenance grader has been dedicated to that area specifically, just due to the incredible amount of maintenance that Ochese Road primarily requires. It's still our responsibility to keep that road in a maintainable, in a safe fashion. So, but that's, again, that's also a large increase in service for the area, and it's cost us annually. At one time there was $250,000 a year, is just to maintain that road between the additional maintenance gravel that's required and of course the grader power that's required. And of course with the length, water trucks are required. So it's not just the single grader that's required to do this type of work. When you're doing this type of intense maintenance, there's a lot of support equipment that's also required.
So finding the efficiency of a pay service would help, correct?
There's no doubt, when we look at the cost benefit of a paved road versus a surface road, between 250, 300 vehicles a day is the crossover when it becomes more cost effective to maintain the surface road. It's really a tough sell when you look at the price of asphalt. Sometimes that number does fluctuate. But really it comes down to a quality life level of service. And when you get up into that high traffic volumes there, it's a paved road is definitely a good investment on high volume roads.
Thank you for that. looking at the screen, so I'll go, Councillor Lougheed, I believe, has a question or comment.
Yes, thank you, Reeve Swanson. I know there was an earlier question which was essentially around why would we pave a road that's only industry-based? And maybe if I could be reminded, in our asset or assessment model, what is the percentage again that industry provides as our assessment base?
COM?
Well, it varies from time to time, but I somehow remember a number 75 to 90%.
Go ahead, COM.
That's correct, Councillor Lougheed. It does hover right around that 89 to 91%.
Thank you for that. It's a good reminder.
Thank you. Councillor Cermak.
Yeah, just as Director Hanson is, have we done a count on that road recently or in the past years, and what was that total?
Yeah, in 2000, we count that road every year, knowing that it's a high priority for a cost share. I think last year was upwards of 350 vehicles a day, which is probably some of the lowest numbers we've seen. I believe in 2022, it was up at 500 vehicles a day. Yeah, and you know, that's one factor in when we're looking at our priority setting, you know, with council's policy for surfacing, priority setting for surface roads is, you know, bullet number one, I'm gonna bring council back to that, is typically our surface road inventory will only be advanced when we have a partner. If we look at Lesaville East Road, for example, that was a partnership with a grant that was available through during COVID there when they had the Get All Albertans Back to Work. It was the name is escaping me right now, but they paid the entire amount for the grading of that road, so the reconstruction of that road in preparation for a base pave. So that's how that road came higher up on the list. River Road is not a great example other than the fact that we know that the River Road has been a high priority and it's had those traffic volumes as well, between that 250, 300 vehicles a day with the intense use of the North Saskatchewan River Park as well as the campground at the other end, the kids' fish pond. The River Road's always been a high priority to get paved, and the reason why it hadn't been paved over the course of so many years was the intersection improvement at 11A. There's always been a concern with the turning lanes when that opportunity presented itself, and that was also a cost share with the town of Rocky Mountain House and the province that paid a third for those intersection improvements there, which really set the stage well for us to move forward with the River Road. So that's really what we try to emphasize now if we're going to continue advancing our surface road network, is that it comes with partners. And the Sunchild Road was another great example of a partnership that was done. It services our First Nations reserve up there, connection to Brazeau County, also a provincial highway network. So that's really is our focus from a policy standpoint, and when roads come a higher priority.
Okay. Subsequent question?
Yeah, just listening to you, Director Hanson there, it sounds like to me that over the years from when we get this paved until we have to do a overlay, that money should almost accumulate by the money that we're gonna save not looking after a gravel road. It should almost pay for itself. It sounds like to me, maybe not quite, but it's certainly gonna help and cushion that overlay cost quite a bit, I would think.
Yeah, certainly our overlay program, we've discussed this numerous times about our asset management and our budgeting process that unfortunately paved roads and bridges, for example, we have them on a rotation and they're necessary to invest in. But I absolutely agree that you know, a funding strategy, and that's why it needs to be the top, one of the top items on the list is Clearwater County is our road network. That's really the primary service we provide, and we have to, whether it be a gravel road network or our surface road network and bridges, you know, they need to be at the top of the list when we're allocating funds to make sure that we're sustainable, to make sure we can maintain these roads in the future.
Thank you. Motion is on the floor. Any more discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion on the floor? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you very much, Director Hansen. All right, so we're moving down the list. Request to meet with provincial ministers, item 8.2D. Ms. Haight.
Thank you. So this, this item is to ask council to provide administration with direction regarding meetings with Minister of Municipal Affairs and other ministers during the Rural Municipalities of Alberta Spring Conference that's coming up. Traditionally, municipalities received invitations from various ministers to meet during the RMA conference to discuss topics of interest. Over the last 6 years, this practice has waned, with the only invitation to request a meeting being received from the Minister of Municipal Affairs. Also, during the last 6 years, Council extended requests to other ministers, and if granted, meetings took place at the Alberta Legislature. So administration is just asking council what they would like to do. If they want to continue meeting with other various ministers, knowing that most likely, again, these meetings will take place at the Alberta Legislature during the conference. And the one exception is that the Minister of Municipal Affairs will meet at the conference.
Yeah, is that it? Okay, thank you. I know this is an opportunity for us to meet with ministers, but I do know that we have an opportunity to request any other time of year to meet with these ministers as well. So is my understanding, we don't have to necessarily request to meet them at the RMA. I know they try and make themselves available, and there's opportunity to ask questions to the Bear Pit. You know, we are at our conference. I know it's an opportunity because we're up there anyway. I think that's part of it, is to find efficiencies that we're up there anyways. So I'll open the floor up for, I know I have a list of possibilities, but I'll open it up first to the councils. I'll go to online first to, looks like Councillor Melhoff.
Thank you, Reeve. I agree with you. I think that I would actually love to have us look at other times, because I don't want us to miss out on the value that conference has, and sometimes having to leave for meetings, we miss out on some of that value. But I would, of course, absolutely love to meet with the Minister of Health. I think that that's going to be important with our operating room opening. But I truly think that we should try to book those outside of the RMA conference itself, even if we have to stay an extra day and schedule those meetings following the conference or just before. Like, I think we can find some efficiencies while we're up there, but I would like to see us do it outside of the days of the actual conference if possible.
Thank you. Councillor Ratcliffe, then I'll go to Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Reeve. I suspect that mine are on other people's lists as well. And for me, it doesn't matter that much whether this is during the RMA or at some other time. It's just, it's easier to have all of us there because we're there. I would certainly like to have council get in front of the various ministries that would be responsible for the development nodes out west, so that we may get that project underway at some time.
So I believe that would be Lowen, Schultz, Schultz with environment, and maybe Lowen with public lands. Those two particular ministries are in regards to those notes.
And maybe our local MLA as well.
Okay.
Would have a
Minister
vested interest.
Nixon. Yep. Okay. Go ahead, Deputy Reeve Melhoff.
Thank you, Reeve. And perhaps with those nodes, that would also be tourism ministry. His name is escaping me currently. Thank you. Thank you. Because I do believe that is a very valuable meeting. If we could get them all in the same room, it would be even better.
Herding cats for them. Go ahead, Councillor Gray.
I had the same ones on my list, Councillor Radcliffe, so that's great. the thought of staying there an extra night is a nightmare to me, but I can rally if that's what we choose to do and do that. On my list, I also have Minister McIver. I think with the amalgamation negotiations, it's important that we meet with him, even just to give him an update on where we're at and to kind of follow through on the things from the fall, because I don't think anything has happened with that I'm aware of that we discussed with him in the fall. So I think that Minister McIver would be great to meet with, and then Minister Dreeshen as well. I think it would be great to have a Highway 11 update. I believe on his Facebook page nothing is happening in this next year, just planning. Well, obviously lots is happening, but physically nothing is happening. But I know there were also things like the pedestrian lights I brought up with them in Leslieville, and we haven't heard anything about that since. So I would love to get an update on that and we always have road things to discuss, so I think that's an important one to try and get a meeting with as well, or the staff of the Transportation Ministry, and that is my list.
Okay. I agree with you as far as Minister Dreeshen. It's not only Highway 11, it's the fact too, remember when council went out with Explore Nordegg and we looked at that crossing, and we'd like to maybe look at a speed reduction at that area too, and if that was, go ahead, Councillor Graham.
And I do remember we brought that one up too, and it didn't sound very promising that was gonna happen, but if we continue to push, then maybe they'll see that it is a problem.
Yeah, that's true. Councillor Melhoff online.
Thank you, Reeve. Seeing as how we're at the Ag Service Board conference, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up some stuff we might need to bring up with the Agricultural Minister, Minister Siebertson. Our agri-stability program is super, super flawed, and we have several farmers, particularly on our east side, that are not getting any of the drought assistance that a neighbor literally across the road is getting because of the arbitrary lines that went with that particular program. It'd be great if we could get in front of him and advocate for our farmers that are not getting the funding that they should be based on actual data and weather patterns and not arbitrary or municipal lines.
Councillor Cermak.
Yeah, just to carry on with what Jenny was saying there, we're kind of in a unique place here in Clearwater County. We only have 3 registered weather stations in our whole county. I think the Red Deer County has like 15. Mountain View has like a dozen. We're twice the size, and we only have 3. And that's where I think our problem is, that we don't get the information. And that's why the county of Mountain View got their monies for the drought, because they have great information. We don't have that information to give them. And I think that's where we're lacking here at the county. That's just me looking from the farmer's point of view. I think we need some more weather stations out there, if possible. And I think there's only 3 that are ran by the province. And it just doesn't do very good. And then I'd like to follow up with the Minister of Transportation. I would like to add something with the setbacks on our numbered highways, 22, 11, 54. I go and travel. I have done a lot of traveling around this country, Alberta. I have been just about on every road from Ontario to the West Coast.
There's a song about that, by the way.
And I have not seen so many places that is in the Clearwater County that people are infringing on setbacks on numbered highways. It's 210 feet from the center of the road. You cannot build or have anything setting on it. Why are we building right up to the fence line?
Good question.
I need an answer from somebody.
Do you have a response at all? No. CEO Emmons?
Thank you, Reeve Swanson. Yes, in regards to the weather stations, Councillor Cermak is exactly right. I will say on the positive, the province has been focusing, I'll say especially the last 5 years, on our region, the eastern slopes, particularly Clearwater County. So they have been looking at additional weather stations. They've really put a lot of resources into creating a database for flood mapping, which has been a big push by this municipality for many years. Very beneficial not only for Public Works, but for our planning department in going through the approval process. We lack the 1 in 100 year flood mapping data. And the province has really been assigning resources, and we've been active with staff at the provincial level in creating those maps and getting feedback. So.
Very good. So I understand here, we've offered a lot of suggested ministry meetings to Ms. Haight to arrange. I know I opened at the beginning saying, do we need to meet during our May convention or at other times? I guess we can, I hate for us to make all these requests and we get them all and we're just spending the majority of our time instead of at the conference and sitting at the legislature. So so with that, I have a number. Again, looking at what we have, I would like this council to maybe prioritize, maybe give our top 3. If Minister McIver wants to meet at the convention, to me, that's a given. We can pop in, pop out, or not, whatever. So if council's in favor of Minister McIver, just as a absolute ask, we can go from there. The other ones, we're only limited to maybe 15, 20 minutes with these ministries at the conference. It might be in our best interest to maybe create a different list and have an opportunity to speak to them longer, maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes. And I know we've spoken in the past for an hour with MLA Getson on the airports. So looking at this list, Councillor Melhoff has suggested the Minister of Health. We've had Minister Nixon, Lowen, and Schultz, and Shao, Minister Dreeshen, and so I'm looking at this council to give a little bit of a priority as to what we want to do. So I'll look over to Councillor Graham first.
Can I add one more to the list because I forgot to
Sure. Which one would that be?
Minister Glubish.
Okay. All right. So Minister Glubish. Yes, to maybe update him on the broadband project, and I'm sure we'll have a more discussion, wholesome discussion on Monday at our broadband committee meeting and that too. So looking at the council? Okay, go ahead, Ms. Haight.
Just hearing the names here on the list. Many years ago, probably over 6 years ago, I'll say, Council of the Day held a meeting here in Rocky Mountain House with many ministers at once. And the topics sort of all intertwined together. And I'm noticing here that, again, the topics are sort of intertwining together, like with development nodes, tourism, of course, Highway 11 is part of the development nodes out in Nordegg, and the Twinning project. Perhaps maybe council would be interested in having something organized similar to that. There was that past meeting, there was, I think 4 or 5 ministers that attended at once. And would council be interested, rather than having separate meetings, would council be interested in having something organized, coordinated at a bit of a larger scale?
Yeah,
at some point in the future.
Yeah, I remember I think it was organized in the summer, so it was an opportunity to actually physically go out, was it not? There was an opportunity to, or was that?
This is prior to your terms.
Yes,
also.
exactly.
Like maybe it was 8 years ago.
Yeah, it was quite a while. I remember
ago.
Councillor Duncan, Jim Duncan at the time talking about it, so
Yeah.
with that, and found it very productive. So Councillor Melhoff or Councillor Lougheed on the line?
Yes, thank you, Reeve. Would I love to do that? Absolutely. Do I think they'll do it? Nope. it seems more of a we must go to them type situation that we're in now. I mean, if you can pull it off, Miss Haight, and get them here, excellent. I just don't, maybe I am turning into more of a pessimist than I thought.
Councillor Graham?
I think that it would be great to do that, especially with the notes to take them out there. I think that would be awesome. Maybe bring them out to the Tauntaun too or something so they can see how wonderful Clearwater County is. I do know there was mention of some of them that are coming out here on a trip, and I don't know when that is, but if we could maybe get that out of them and organize it around the same time while they're already out here. They're probably very full, very busy already, but maybe they'll be able to stay the night or something, and that would take a couple of them off our list while we're in Edmonton. I will also take any opportunity to not have to go to downtown Edmonton personally, so I would be in favor of trying that.
Councillor Ratcliffe?
Yes, Councillor Graham and the Deputy Reeve have expressed my thoughts quite well, that if that's possible and something we can get to soon, terrific.
So what I heard is that that there is a willingness to try and organize a day and to invite the ministers. Some of them are local, and there's a good possibility, like Dreeshen and Nixon, that kind of thing. So I would be in favor of let's try kicking that can first, and if not, then let's try meeting them individually, and or at least trying to meet them at the ledge as a group meeting. But let's try and inviting them first. Sometimes they take every opportunity to come and explore with us as well. So there's that opportunity too. And I know Minister Nixon is always happy to brag about Clearwater County. So anyways, we'll give him the opportunity to maybe encourage his fellow MLAs to join him. So I think if that's the direction, we would need a motion to that effect, correct? Okay, so we need a motion. Councillor
I
Cermak.
would make that motion right now because we have a director that can do anything, and now we have Ms. Haight that can do almost the same.
Okay.
I have seen her almost do anything, so.
There you go.
Think positive and it'll happen.
All right. So the motion would be to direct administration to organize a ministerial visit for ministers as outlined or as indicated? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and make a fun day out of it or 2 days out of it, whatever they can give us.
Okay, thank you. All right, so with that direction, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. So with that, we had reorganized our agenda to have a closed session next. But before we go into closed session, we're going to have a quick 10-minute break, and then we'll go into closed session. And welcome back. We just returned from our break. So as indicated before, we are going now into closed session. We're bringing it forward. So I will need a motion to go into closed session. Councillor Ratcliffe, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we're back out of closed session, and there's nothing to report. It was purely a discussion, so we're going to carry on with the report section of the agenda. And I do believe we are going to excuse both Councillor Lougheed and Deputy Reeve Melhoff too, so that they can rejoin their conference that they're attending. Thank you so much for coming on this morning.
Thank you, team, and we will see you when we get back.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so looking at the report section on the first one, Mr. Emmons, please.
Thank you, Reeve Swanson. The January 23rd, 2024 CAO report, the RMA resolutions process change webinar. So that's the Rural Municipalities of Alberta Board of Directors recently made changes to the RMA resolutions process policy, which provides the framework for how resolutions are written, submitted, debated, endorsed, and advocated on. While the changes are fairly minor, they do impact all aspects of the resolution process. The RMA has also developed a short guideline that provides an overview of these changes. The 2024 Spring Municipal Leaders Caucus. This event will cover key top-of-mind issues facing communities, provide opportunity to hear from government leaders. This year's event is taking place in Edmonton on March 14th and 15th. As per Council's conferences and training policy, one councillor may attend the Municipal Leaders Caucus. If more are required, a motion. If more wish to participate, a motion would be required.
I know I looked at the agenda so for that particular conference, so I would like to attend that spring conference. Is there any other councillors that, with that? If not, Councillor Ratcliffe?
Are there any particular issues where some expertise around council would be beneficial?
It's, I would like to, I didn't pull it out, the particular
Sorry.
agenda. No, that's okay, I have no problem pulling it out. In my opinion, there's an opportunity to, oh, it's not here. In my estimate, it would be nice to, it's also a networking opportunity for me with our fellow municipalities, both the town of Rocky Mountain House and any of the other municipalities along Highway 11. That's in that particular, and there's, it's off the top of my mind, there was two sessions that I felt that would be good to have some representation there. So, again, I would like to attend, but if any other councillor would like to attend, we can go there. Councillor
I was
Graham.
thinking
Oh, sorry.
that in addition to that another councillor or the deputy Reeve.
You could make a
might find
motion
useful
to allow any councillor to attend. That would be the opportunity at this point in time, if that's what you felt.
All right, I would make that motion then that in addition to the Reeve, that one other councillor be authorized to attend.
Okay, so two councillors to attend this Municipal Spring Leaders Conference, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Discussion, Councillor Graham?
Just looking at my calendar here quickly, we do have an amalgamation meeting on the 14th of March. And I know I have other board meetings then as well, so I won't be able to attend, but I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention before. Okay. So I'll vote in favor because it's two people, but if it was a free reign for everyone, I would have voted against it.
Thank you. All right. So motion is to appoint, or for two councillors to go to the Municipal Spring Leaders Caucus. Any further discussion? Councillor CO Emmons. No, nothing. Okay. I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. You will proceed, please.
Thank you, Reeve Swanson. So the Alberta Coordinated Action for Recycling Enterprises, otherwise known as CARE, 2024 Spring Seminar is taking place February 28th to March 1st in Camrose. The seminar includes presentations and updates on the latest innovatives and technology regarding recycling programs and waste facilities. Councillor attendance requires council approval as per the remuneration policy.
All right. Anyone, I believe the email went out, but for councillors wanting to attend this conference, we would need a motion. Councillor Ratcliffe.
I will make that motion then, that any councillor wishing to attend the Alberta Care Spring Seminar in Camrose be authorized to do so.
Okay. Any discussion? We'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Go ahead.
January 9th, 2023, Council passed the procedural bylaw 1177/23. As a reminder, this subsequently changes the agenda publication date from Wednesday preceding the meeting to the Thursday. This bylaw is available on the county's website.
Good. All right. Any further discussion? Any, seeing none? See attached is the action tracking list as well. Any questions on that? And if not, we move to, are you okay with us just approving the CEO report of that? Okay, so we need a motion to approve. Okay, Councillor Northcott has made the motion to approve to accept the CEO's report for information. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to the Clearwater Regional Fire Services report. Any questions or discussion? Looking for a motion to accept the Fire Rescue Services report for information. Okay, Councillor Ratcliffe will make the motion to accept for information. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Looking on to the 9.3, the capital project status update report for January. Any discussion? We have Director Hansen still with us, so if you have any questions in this regard. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Councillor Surma.
The bridge reconstruction 2.1, when they're rebuilding that James River or looking at repairing to it, how long will that bridge be out of service, or will it be out of service when they're doing this 2.8 upgrade?
It's something I'll have to get back to council on to see what type of traffic accommodation strategy is required for that bridge. I'm not entirely familiar with the extent of that, but I will follow up with council with an email there on the type of delays that this might cause.
Yeah, there's a bunch of concerned people there wondering if they're gonna have to try to do the other bridge or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Something that we'll vet out more through the required maintenance. I'm going to say likely there's going to be the need to close it for a certain period of time, but it's something I will follow up with council with.
Thank you.
I know for myself, I like the way we've, this particular report's been outlined because it kind of follows up on the strategic planning that we just completed. So it's identifying the projects that council has decided on, so we have further discussion in this regard. So I'm particularly excited with what's going to be happening in Nordegg. I think that's a way forward, and especially for those residents going forward as well. Any more comments or discussion in regards to this capital report or questions? If not, looking for a motion to accept. Councillor Graham makes a motion to accept the capital projects status report for information. I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. The airport briefing from December. I think it's straightforward. There's no any anomalies or not. Looking forward to accept that particular briefing. Councillor Ratcliffe makes the motion to accept for information.
Getting this to us on a continuous basis.
Very good. Yes, for sure. I'll call the question. All those in, Councillor Cermak, a question?
Yeah, I thought the report was great, but it's certainly outdated. Can they give an updated version of this? I mean, this was reported back in 2015. That's the date on this report. I'm sure that there's some changes that I've made since then.
On the Rocky Mountain House Airport briefing?
No, on the airport briefing. That's what we're on, right?
Yeah, it says it's updated as of December 2023. I have.
But all of the information that I read said it was all dated from 2015. They just had one in there where it said it was updated or looked at.
Okay.
In 2023.
Okay. CEO Emmons, please.
So if I may, and I will definitely defer to Councillor Cermak to correct me if I'm mistaken, believe what Councillor Cermak's referring to is the airport master plan, is 2015. This briefing we received in the agenda is indeed 2023, and it's the most current update on the operations. The airport master plan is the plan that guides the long-term development of the airport. And if I may, Councillor Cermak, I don't believe that document has been updated or looked at since 2015. It can definitely be a topic that we could bring forward to the ICC to ask our partners if there is a need or if there's enough changes in the operations of the airport that an updated plan would be beneficial.
Yeah, because, I mean, aerobatics, were they back in 2015 also? Because the way that I see that, I think that we need that aerobatics here. We're one of the last airports that do have it in Alberta. And I'd like to see what we need to change or to help advance that some more, to get more planes coming here. And I didn't see that in this report, and that's kind of what I was looking for. Maybe I was off topic.
No, that's fine. That'd be a direction of ICC then to carry down that conversation when the airport terminal and such comes up. That might be an add-on discussion with during the ICC meetings that are coming forward. So thank you for that. So with the airport briefing before us, motion is on the floor from Councillor Ratcliffe in regards to accept for information. I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. The school resource officer report. Any questions in that regard? If not, looking for a motion to accept that particular report. Councillor Northcott makes the motion to accept for information. I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Moving along to 9.6, our verbal councillor reports from the last 2 weeks. I'm going to start on my left this time, so I am going to switch it up and start with Councillor Cermak.
Okay, perfect. I wasn't super busy the last couple of weeks since our last meeting, but I was over to the West Central meeting. I think we had 30-some people at the meeting. Was great information given out there, and I was really impressed with Paramount Resources. They are doing a pad, and where their gas plant is going to be west of the Arbutus Hall, they are going to be doing a 6 to 8 well pad there, plus their new gas plant will be probably going there. And in the Alhambra area, I think the gentleman said that they're doing another pad over there. They've already got it started on that. That's another 6 to 8 pad. They figure they will have 70 to 80 people working in the area. And they are hoping, and this is how Paramount operates, when they come into an area, they want to use all local people. And they're having quite a time getting enough in the local area. They have backed off a little bit at pushing to do more than what they can get for people in our location right here. It's great to see that they didn't push forward and bring in a bunch of people from out of our county. what a great industry leader these people are. I was so impressed with the report that they give. And I'm going to leave it at that.
All right, thank you so much. Any questions for Councillor Cermak? Moving on, Councillor Ratcliffe.
Thank you, Reeve. I've been quite busy the last few weeks, but on reflection, I think a big part of it was staying warm. I attended two events, the rec board meeting, where the membership would like to have some review and input into the new recreation agreement with the town. And with Reeve Swanson, I attended the Travel Alberta session in Nordegg about staff housing last week. This is going to be a process that goes on for a few months, so I'm looking forward to the outcome of that. But still, staff housing in Nordegg for those businesses that are especially busy in the summer, active in the summer, continues to be a problem. And any innovative opportunities to help solve that would be great. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Ratcliffe? Thank you. Councillor Northcott?
Not a whole lot to report here. So FCSS, I attended a meeting there. They're accepting applications for funding right now. And I attended a Community Futures Central Alberta meeting. Really one thing to highlight out of there was about 50% of the RRF loans for the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund. About 50% of those loans have been paid back. So more than anticipated, but that's where that stands. That's all.
Thank you. Councillor Graham?
So I've also been fairly slow the last couple of weeks, but a few things to report on. I went to, virtually attended the CAEP, I don't know what I want to say summit, but it wasn't their summit, the CAEP thing that they did. Eddie Lemoyne was the presenter there, and I found it quite interesting, and I have a number of facts written down here. I'll share some with you guys. So one thing was 53 hours after someone is hired, they have buyer's remorse. So they question if they made the right decision. 33 years of age is when, from my understanding, this next generation is going to be leaving home. So they're going to be living with their parents until they are 33 years old. Something interesting, and I think this really reflects to councillors as well when we're out talking to our residents, is that the younger the workforce, the more important it is to talk to employees. So the boomer generation didn't really care for the communication, but my generation, for example, we like to talk to people and kind of be in the loop for what's going on. Something very interesting. So they talked about kind of your rock star employees, your unengaged employees, and your really bad ones. I don't remember the words they used. It wasn't really bad, but that's what I'm going to use. And when you lose one of your rock star employees, you lose 3 times their salary. So that is very detrimental to an organization. And they mentioned that it's extremely important to have exit interviews and to reach out to them 30 days after they leave, because you might be able to get them back. They might have that buyer's remorse for getting a new job. And also the importance of those engaged rockstar employees and how they speak positively about the workplace, and they cause less workplace accidents. So we need to have lots of those rockstar employees here, which I believe we do. And also the importance that, and I think this kind of reflects as counselors too, like talking to our residents and ourselves personally, that someone may be a rock star at one part of the job, but they may be terrible at another part of the job. So that's why it's important to kind of speak to people about what they're enjoying and what they're disliking about the job, or maybe like for us going to see ministers, who we should be sending to which ministers, because something, I'll use health, for example. We're not going to send me over the Deputy Reeve, obviously, because that's obviously a passion of hers, and it's not of mine. So the importance of speaking to people and kind of figuring out the things they care about, and to use people have people work doing their best skills. And something else, they were talking about technology and how it's going to have to take over the workforce just to fill in for the the lack of people as the boomer generation is retiring and the next generations are so much smaller. And they said that the dirty, dangerous, and disengaging jobs will be the ones taken over by technology. And I thought maybe crack sealing would be one of those in the future. That would be cool. And something, I found this a little creepy, and I don't really know what to think about it, but they were talking about mechanical bees that they have now, and they use horsehair to go around and pollinate. And they are technology bees. And I think that's a little weird, and I don't know that I'm willing to accept that, but apparently that's a thing. So and I also had my drop-in session, and I have 0 things to report from that. So that's my council report.
Thank you so much. Sounds like it was an interesting day with that particular presenter. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Go ahead, Councillor Ratcliffe. Questions?
If it's easily done, it would be great to see a summary of that, you know, especially the statistics.
Go ahead,
And did they talk about ways to create rock stars? Going with the belief that within us we all have rock star capability.
Because we can do anything? Absolutely. Go ahead, Councillor Graham.
It was recorded, so I know Deputy Reeve Melhoff, I saw she had asked in the chat, but I didn't see her receive an answer, so hopefully they'll make the recording available. I thought it was very beneficial, so I would recommend if it does become available that we all watch it. And the one thing that they spoke about with kind of creating the rock stars was they had like this 14-day thing where you, on one side of a paper, you write what you enjoyed, and on the other side, you write what you hated. And then the person, like the director or the supervisor, for example, would look at those papers at the end of every day, and you know, one person might enjoy something that the other person hated. And you kind of go about it that way, and then you can work out who enjoys what, and if everyone just dislikes the same jobs, that doesn't really work out well. But it's just communication mostly is how they talked about it. And one thing they spoke about too was making sure that people are doing the jobs that they were told they were going to do when they applied. So you don't tell someone they're going to be running equipment and then you have them chasing cows. I don't know, but just the importance of kind of having them do what they were hired for, and communication, I think, were the main things. But if it does come out, I highly recommend watching. I thought it was very valuable, and so much of it kind of correlates to counselors too, and how we communicate with our residents. So,
okay.
Thank you.
So we'll maybe put the bug in at Tracy Gartner, the executive director of CAEP, and maybe send an email and ask if that recording is available. But thank you for that. Just for myself, since after the last meeting, I did a quick family vacation. Unfortunately, 2 months ago of planning didn't really pan out for the cold weather that it was. So when you go to a ski hill and they shut down the lifts, you have to rely on other things to do. So anyways, but it was a nice getaway. I attended the Clearwater Regional Fire Service Awards at the Pine Hills Golf Course. Of course, they had a call out just before the awards, so some of them didn't make it back, which was unfortunate, but very thankful that we have the service that we do. Very proud of the service that we have, because they are very dedicated volunteer service to help out those in need. Of course, we had our strategic planning meeting. I did attend, like Councillor Ratcliffe mentioned, the Explore Nordig, their housing assessment needs. They got a grant from Travel Alberta to do this. So this isn't county funded. This is something through Travel Alberta. So looking forward to their report in the coming months. That's about it at this point in time. We did have a senior housing meeting on Thursday, and they are in around, I believe, five rooms vacant at this time, but waiting lists are still there, and they're hoping to fulfill those waiting lists as soon as possible. So all good that way. If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to accept the council reports. Councillor Cermak, thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Council remuneration. Any questions? If not, motion to accept council remuneration. Councillor Graham, please.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say I think we need a different system for how we do this because the way that we all charge is so inconsistent. Like the board member appreciation night, for example, some people charged and some people didn't, and it's like I think we just need to communicate when we almost need to have a meeting to do our remuneration or something, and just so that we're all charging consistently because I think it's important to have that consistency. So I just think about ideas for that, everyone, maybe moving forward, and we can maybe do better with that moving forward.
Okay. I agree with the comments. It's maybe an opportunity for us to have a check-in, maybe at the last council meeting or after the last council meeting of the month, just to go over the month before and like some councillors have attended everything and some haven't. So, but it's just to, like you say, create that consistency. That's great. Would you entertain the motion to accept? Okay, Councillor Graham motions to accept council remuneration. I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Looking at the list of correspondence letters that we've received and sent, looking if there's no discussion or if there's any discussion, just looking for one motion to accept correspondence, please. Okay, Councillor Northcott makes a motion to accept correspondence. I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Notices of motion. I believe we have a procedure on that, so we're all good. We've dealt with closed session before. Looking at item 13, the adjournment. If there's no other further, Councillor Northcott.
Actually, just a question for notices of motion for Mr. Emmons. Would administration be able to provide council an electronic format for council to be able to submit notices of motion that way electronically?
Okay.
They're just a request or whatever.
Yeah.
And beyond that, I would make a motion.
And that's carried. Thank you very much. See you February 11th.